Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for this ITE Learning Hub webinar, Women in ITE 2025 Bootcamp number 2, Navigating Career Growth, the Power of Coaches, Mentors, and Advocates. My name is Stephen Bird, and I'm the ITE Information Technology Senior Director and will facilitate today's webinar. Before we get started, I'd like to go over some housekeeping items. There will be a Q&A period at the end of the webinar, during which the presenters will answer participant questions. We do encourage you to type your questions into the chat box as they occur throughout the webinar instead of waiting until the end. If you wish to receive the PDH credit certificate for participation in today's webinar, there's a processing fee of $20 regardless of membership status. Today's webinar offers 1.5 PDH credits. We will discuss the full process of receiving the credit at the conclusion of the webinar and after the Q&A. So registrants, be sure to stick around to receive those instructions. Ways to participate in today's webinar. The chat pod. Type your questions into the chat pod, and at the end of the webinar, we'll try to answer all the questions within the time allotted. Depending on the volume of questions, we may extend the webinar up to 5 minutes. If there's multiple attendees at your site, you can have the additional attendees in the room share questions with you to type into the chat pod on their behalf. We hope you enjoyed today's webinar. The learning objectives for today's webinar are: define and distinguish the roles of mentors, coaches, and advocates and sponsors, including their unique contributions to career development. Recognize when to seek out a mentor, coach, or advocate based on the career stage and professional goals. Identify strategies to establish and nurture these relationships to maximize career growth and leadership potential. Gain insight from real-world experiences shared by panelists offering practical takeaways for building a strong professional support system. I will now hand things over to Sky Gao. She's with the Women in ITE, and she's going to be the moderator for today's webinar. Thank you. Sky?
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. And as you can see from the objective, we're going to go through 3 roles here and a mentee in our section today. So we will share the definition with you first, starting with mentor. This is a board definition that come out of our organization team. However, through our chat today with different role, you will learn more from their experience in how this role is not only definition, right? It's really beyond the definition. Mentor provide trusted long-term guidance, sharing knowledge and experience to support personal and professional growth. Coach helps you achieve specific goals through accountability, structured feedback, and performance-driven guidance. Advocate is a role that actively promotes your advancement by endorsing you and creating new opportunities. Those are the 3 roles. And we also have a mentee that is kind of a person benefited from all of these 3 roles. Introducing today's panelists, we have Sean Light, we have Julian Sevelin, we also have Adam Allen and Erica Bailey with us. And I will starting with Sean Light. Sean Light is the Vice President and a Principal Owner of the CBB in St. Louis, Missouri. In these capabilities, he leads CBB's day-to-day project delivery and business development efforts. Sean works to develop transportation solutions that support community values by forging relationships and advancing forward-thinking solutions. Sean's current work focuses on multimodal transportation planning and safety, as well as traffic engineering in support of heavy construction design build projects. Sean was the ITE International President in 2017. He has served on the TRB's Transportation of National Defense Committee since 2012, and as an administrator of the Gateway ITE section since 2007. Sean has been an adjunctive professor of transportation engineering in Washington University, University of Missouri St. Louis Joint Engineering Program since 2003. Sean earned a BS in environmental engineering from the United States Military Academia at West Point and an MS in civil engineering from the University of Wisconsin at Madison. Sean, please, now you're putting your mentor hat on. So tell us a little bit of your thoughts towards the mentor definition and any story you would like to share as an opening remark.
Sure. Thank you so much. So when I look at mentorship, for me, being a mentor is a bit like being a trail guide. And let me explain that. So in 2019, I decided to take my family, wife, and 3 kids on a hike across the Grand Canyon from the North Rim to the South Rim. We'd never done anything like that before. My youngest daughter was 10 at the time, and we relied heavily on people to give us advice and information about what to pack and where to camp and where to find water and just different things to think about for that trip. Interestingly enough, a lot of that advice came from ITE members. One of the past presidents had lived in the rim for a number of years. So what does that have to do with careers? Well, when I look at myself as a mentor, I've been a part of this profession for a number of years now. I've done a lot of trails. I've done some things that have worked out well and a lot of things that have worked out very poorly. And when I see younger professionals that are wanting to get started in this career, just like I would love to give people my experience with the rim to rim hike in the Grand Canyon, I really enjoy talking to younger professionals about their career journey and things they might want to think about. And so being a mentor really is forming a relationship with some of these folks and just trying to help give them things to think about as they kind of plan their careers out and ways to move forward. So an example of this, there was a student way back in the day down at Missouri and S&T who wanted to revive the ITE section. Sent out an email to some IT leaders and said, hey, can anybody help with this? I said, I've done this before. So started a relationship with that person, led to conversations like, hey, what do you like about transportation? And how do you learn more? Well, have you thought about internships? Well, this person did a couple internships with us. And, the long story short, skipping ahead, as of last week, became one of my business partners here at CBB and has bought into the company. So on a very holding some very prominent leadership positions within ITE. So it's been fun to work with this person and kind of help guide them along their career journey and just have those conversations along the way to help them find their path moving forward.
Thank you so much, Sean, for your opening. And we will discuss more questions as we enter the open discussion time. And then let me go ahead to talk with Julia a little bit. Julia Savali is a passionate leader in transportation space with over 25 years of experience. She is the president of Savali Consulting in Kitchener, Ontario, where she works with private sectors and municipal clients to plan transportation networks for involving communities. Julia has been involving with IT for her whole career and is currently the district director to the International Board of Directions for the IT Canadian district. Julia is a believer in international living. Setting and reaching specific goals is the key elements of living all areas of lives with intention. Coaching and being coached to create plans and develop accountabilities have been an important part of Julia's career growth. That's a good bio over there, Julia. So tell me a little bit more about coach and relate that with our definition show in the previous slides and maybe an experience of you. Go ahead, Julia.
Thanks so much, Sky. I'm really delighted to be here today and to be part of this panel because I think that mentoring and coaching and finding advocates is a really important part of career development. So thanks for the invitation. A lot of what we are going to be talking about today is understanding, what is the difference between a coach, a mentor, and advocate, and what do they do and what do they bring to your career as an individual. And from my perspective, you know, the time to engage with a coach is a time when you are looking to achieve a specific goal or overcome a specific problem. And typically there's a timeline associated with that. So the two times in my life where I found I've acted as a coach a lot is in managing staff. That coaching comes out a lot when you're managing staff, and also in parenting older kids, because a lot of this is about acting as a guide to somebody through a process to get to a specific end goal. I want to tell you a story about somebody that I worked with a few years ago. So here's a person, a young professional, sort of in that 0 to 5 years of experience part of their career. And I was new to the organization, was acting in a supervisory role to this person. So I didn't know them. We didn't have a relationship before. All of a sudden I'm supervising them, and we're looking to make a bit of a 1-year plan. So what are we going to do? You know, where is this person going to go with their work and their career over the coming year? So the first thing we did is we sat down and we started talking about, what are the things that they're good at? What are the things that they feel comfortable doing them? So there's their strengths, right? These are the things that they've been working on in their career. They've had some success. They're feeling comfortable doing those kinds of things. On the other side, what are the things where they feel like they need some more experience? What are the specific tasks and skills that they're looking to improve over the course of the next year? And then the third thing we were looking at is what's something totally different that you'd like to be working on, or that they would like to be working on within their role, that they haven't had the chance to be exposed to. So we looked at those three things, and what was key to this whole discussion is, you know, this person is a young professional. I was guiding them, but they were the ones who were setting their specific goals. And it was my role as their supervisor, their manager, to figure out, okay, what kind of work can I bring to them to start to work on these things? How can I expose them to project work that will give them the chance to not only work on the things that they're good at, because we do also need to, you know, we need to get work done in our workplaces, but get them to work on specific tasks that I could help them explore and build their competence in. And then how could I expose them to things that were outside of their area of expertise, but also outside of my area of expertise. So we set the goals for the year, and we started to brainstorm about projects. And over the course of the next year, we had the chance to work on those specific skills independently. But what was important for me also was bringing it all together in one project. So by the end of the year, there was a single project where they had been able to work on the project all the way through, doing the, you know, I'm on the transportation planning side of things, doing the transportation planning work for that project. They did the report writing, which they were actually very good at to begin with. So they took ownership of that. And they also were able to, having built up those technical skills in other areas, bring that to bear in this project and complete the project all the way through, and also work on some of the design elements. That's what they were looking for, was some exposure to doing some design work. So we gave them the opportunity to do some of the design work with one of my colleagues. So they did lots of other work over the course of the year, but this one project sort of brought it all together for that person. I think the part that for me felt like success is that this person was able to I was able to work with them to figure out what it is they wanted to get out of their role and the work that they were doing. We were able to articulate that and form a plan around that with, you know, looking at the end goals. Here's where we would like to end up. I helped to guide them along the way. How are we going to get there? And they were able to achieve their goals. Here's the interesting part. Having had the opportunity to do that and really to explore all the different elements that were being brought to the table in this particular company, this person actually decided to leave. When they got to the end, it was actually at the end of that year, they said, hey, this has been a really good experience for me. I've really enjoyed it, but there's this one little piece. This little piece is the part that I really, really love. And I want to go somewhere else and do this little piece on a larger scale. And for me, as the coach, where I read the success in that is, you know, in our businesses, we were interested in growing our people. We wanted them to find success. We wanted to develop them and help them build their confidence, and helping them recognize that this small piece was something they wanted to do, and taking that out into the world and doing it was, for me personally, I thought that was a really great success, even though at the end of the day, we ended up losing this person into another field, but they went chasing their joy. And for me personally, I felt that was really successful.
Wonderful, wonderful story, Julia. I think I hear a lot of specific goal, particular task, and that is the content we didn't hear from the mentor role, where Sean introduced more into the journey and how he work along with the mentee to the journey. So I hope this conversation kind of inspiring our audience in terms of who to look for. Moving forward to the advocates. All right, we have Adam Allen here with us. Mr. Adam leads a team of transportation professionals with diverse technical expertise in all aspects of highway design, safety, traffic engineering, complete streets, traffic operations, and ITS service. His team's mission is to deliver cutting-edge solutions to provide safer and more efficient transportation systems for the communities they serve. With 22 years of comprehensive experience, Mr. Allen has managed some of the most complex multidisciplinary transportation projects for agency clients throughout the Northeast region. His personal specialty lies in in traffic signal designs and operations, as well as work zone traffic control. On multiple occasions throughout his career, Ms. Allen has been retained by the New Jersey Department of Transportation to teach traffic signal training classes to their employees. He is also very committed to the IT, where he humbly served the Northeast District President in 2021, the Metropolitan Section of New York and New Jersey President 2013, and is also the alumnus 2014 and chair of Emeritus 2021 of the Leadership ITE. He currently serves as vice chair of the ITE Traffic Engineering Council, where he oversees the traffic signal design and operations subcommittees and the traffic control devices subcommittee. And he has been a member of the technical councils of executive committee since 2019. Adam.
All right, thank you, Sky.
All right.
Wish I
Share a
wish
little
I
bit of your aspects.
yeah, wish I cut down that bio a bit. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I'm excited to be here. When I was asked to kind of join the panel, I was definitely excited, but also intrigued a bit. I think before today, if you personally asked me, you know, what are some of my strengths, I don't know, that advocate would be one of the ones that I would have spit out to you. It just wasn't something that I felt like I was intentionally doing. But in reality, you know, as I sit here and have kind of thought a little bit through today and, you know, what I'm going to talk about, I do a ton of advocating. I think it's just a natural part of what I do in my role professionally. Even personally, I feel like I find myself doing it a lot. And as I kind of peel away the layers here, I think that authentic part of this and that realness is probably why maybe I'm good at it. Maybe that's what makes me kind of a good advocate. And we'll talk a little bit about that more as we dig in. But to kind of start the discussion, you know, I kind of think I kind of had a thought about, you know, what makes a good advocate, or maybe what was why I've had some success in that area. And for me personally, as I get a little older and start to really get a good understanding of what motivates me, I would say my number one driver is really rooted in the success of others. When people on my team hit certain professional milestones, like maybe they get their license, or even like personal things, buying a new car, buying a house, like that stuff really gets to me. I think it kind of, for some reason, when you bring in someone that's, I've had the opportunity to bring in people, out of college, and they've built their career, and now they have a home and a family, and it's just really rewarding to me. So I feel like that's a big part of this. Like, I like to share in our successes as a team. I like to collectively kind of, I don't know, that's kind of what energizes me. So I naturally prop up those around me, I think, because of that. And then I think also for me, what's really important in who I am is that those personal connections and that professional network, I think, is something that I've always kind of been, it's been a big part of who I am. I always gravitate towards the people side of the business and how we do things. And growing up, I was somebody that from a very early point in my career was going to IT meetings and meeting people. And at first you don't really realize the importance of that, but as your network grows, it becomes really important as you get old, as you advance in your career, and you need to kind of rely on others and team up with others and get some opinions and things like that. It becomes very critical. And the part for me is you really start to make real connections, and there's people that you really start to care about. So again, when you have people that and like and are friends with and really care about, like, I think it's natural to kind of like try to shed some light on them and advocate for them in certain situations. So excited to be here.
All right, thank you, Adam. And we definitely hear endorsement in your conversation, right? So that's also aligned with what we threw at the beginning for the definition. Go ahead with Erica, who is the personnel we think you fits you benefit for all these three, mentor, coach, and advocate. So let me introduce you, Erica. Erica Bailey. Erica is a civil engineer graduate from the University of Waterloo, 2009. She has over 15 years of professional experience in Pyramiding Transportation Solutions Limited in transportation planning, traffic engineering, and parking and transportation demand management in her role as a senior project manager. Over her career, Erica has successfully completed transportation and infrastructure master plans, class environmental assessments, transportation corridor studies, traffic survey management and data analysis, and transportation impact assessment in municipalities across Ontario. She has proven expertise in active transportations, traffic operations, traffic demand forecasting, parking management, public consultations, and infrastructure design. Erica is a leader in public engagement within the firm and has a passion of building strong relationship with her clients. She contributes to the engineering community through participate in the Women in Engineering Career Mentorship Program at the University of Waterloo, as an active member of the ITE SWO sections. Maybe tell me a little bit more on the ITE SWO sections and ITE Canada District. She spends her free time playing hockeys, driving her two kids to hockeys, watching hockeys, and recovering from hockeys. If there is any time left after hockeys, Erica is a quitters. So Erica, floor is yours.
Thank you, Sky. Adam, I think I'm relating to you there that I could have cut that down a bit. And SWO stands for Southwest Ontario. So that's the yeah, that's what we call it up here. Thank you to everyone who's spoken already. It was really great to listen to the three of you, and I was hearing a lot of themes that really resonated with me. Adam, you used the word team a lot, which I really loved, because you start to realize through your career that you don't have to do these things by yourself. You can tap into resources, and you have people who will be on your team and who will cheer for you. And I've really benefited from many of those people. So as Sky said, I'm a professional. I'm also a mom. I have a lot on my plate, and having a team supporting me is kind of like a cheat code to success. To have to get the answers to things, to help you get to your solution faster. You don't have to be spinning your wheels. There are other people out there willing to help. One of my examples of mentorships that as a mentee that I've had is when I started my career 16 years ago. My boss used to take me to all these meetings all the time, and I had almost nothing to contribute because I was a very junior engineer, felt like I didn't have anything good to offer, and yet he kept dragging me to sit through these meetings. And I realized eventually that the goal was never to, not never, but the goal at first was not to be able to successfully contribute to the meeting, because that would come eventually with experience, but rather right then to listen to the people around me and start to recognize the different communication styles and the way that different people show up in these meetings, and work together, and start to see people that were more experienced than me, and start to find things that that I liked and that I wanted to emulate in my own work. So I really started to take those opportunities, sitting in those meetings, so many meetings, sitting in those meetings to find role models. And when there were people that did that had really attractive qualities, that I could connect with them and ask them more about kind of their career evolution and how they got to where they were and what resources they used. So as engineers, we kind of, relating to that example, we start with the pressure is so much on our technical skills, and that's the bulk of our early work. And as you gain more experience and you tap into mentors, coaches, and advocates, you can really start to lean into developing your interpersonal skills. And again, finding those role models that that you either want to emulate or can help you find more resources to do that. Something that has really resonated with me over my career is that it's okay to have several different mentors and coaches for different things in your life. And a mentor that you have when you first start career might not be someone who stays with you through your whole career, might be helpful at different times in your career. And so as you gain experience, as I've done, you start to recognize the muscle memory starts to build, and you find yourself thinking, I could really use some help here. And then you can go through, as we're talking about today, and as Julia was saying, kind of, is this an opportunity for a coach? Do I have a specific problem that I need to work through? Do I need a mentor to help me kind of build those questions to ask myself, or do I need an advocate in this particular situation? And the more you work those muscles, the easier it is to tap into that. So now at this point, I think there's no point in your experience where you're too experienced or too old to want to be able to benefit from these resources. For example, now I'm in a senior role at my job, and my kids are a little bit older, so I'm able to put more into my career. Moving into more senior roles at work, finding a mentor who is at that point in their career, has more business knowledge. It's just, again, the evolution of what my needs have been over the past 16 years. And how I find to be the most successful mentee, I think being engaged is really critical, and really steering the ship. The mentors and the coaches and the advocates are there to help you, but ultimately this is your career that you're building. So if you get a mentor, coach, or advocate through a formal process, or just through more informal, someone you work with, someone someone you meet through ITE, to really take charge of that relationship. And when you meet someone that you really click with, um, to reach out to them, to set up a time to chat, to have your questions, to see how they can help you, and to set your expectations. I was in the other role as a mentor through, as Sky mentioned, the career mentorship program at the university I went to. I matched with a fourth year student, and just trying to set up a time to chat was so challenging that eventually the mentorship window was over. Um, because there was very little flexibility. We couldn't find the same page to connect on. So trying to, go in with an open mind, with your expectations, be flexible with the goals that you want to talk about, and really, kind of on the flip side of what Adam was talking, it's also really important to advocate for yourself, to be your number one advocate, to figure out what you need, and what's going to help you get there. And the benefits are just immense to have people in your professional network, to have a safe space to brainstorm, to work through problems, to just be able to build honesty and trust with someone that, is hopefully unbiased to the work that you're doing. The benefits, and I've been benefiting for years now, and hope to continue that through my career.
Thank you, Erica. And this is a good time for every of our panelists have your camera. We can have a group discussions. For the attendees, please enter the question you have for the 4 panelists we have today, sharing different aspects. Erica, a little bit follow up to your questions, and so we can warm the stage here. You talk about talk about certain mentor program you were in. You said that you sat in a meeting, so you see who would be the best mentor or coach for you. Is there any specific tour or specific community you would like to introduce to the audience? And that can be a local or it can be a virtual environment. Could you share a little bit on that?
Sure, and stop me if I didn't get the question right. So that particular organization was through the Women in Engineering group, through the university that I attended, through their engineering school. So they have alumni outreach programs, and that's how I got connected to it. And so it's through the Women in Engineering group, so it's predominantly women. And they connect you with students that are in their fourth year, or just starting, just having graduated in the same industry that you are in.
I use the IT mentorship program that's through eCommunity, also kind of helped me link to the students. So I think there's a variety of program that can link us with the students, and that can be a good start to be a mentor at earlier of your stage. So let me maybe go back to Sean on the mentor topic. Sean, how do you build trust with a mentee earlier in the relationship?
Yeah, so for me, I think the most important component of that is to, first of all, be approachable, but I think more importantly is to really seek to understand the person who's coming to you for help, and really understand what it is that where are they at. And Julia, I loved your conversation about what are you comfortable with and what are some things. So it's really asking those questions to explore and to learn who that person is, and what that person needs. And I think once you and that person understand each other, then you can start to get into, okay, how can I help you achieve the goals that you want to achieve? How can I help set up whatever this process is going to be? What questions can I help answer for you? And it's interesting, we're not recruiters necessarily. So Julia, your story was you found it very successful and you lost the person. There's a formal project here in St. Louis called Project PAVE. It's part of a design build project I worked on. And the idea was STEM outreach to a local underserved community to get kids that, no college in their families at all, and to try to help introduce them to professional careers. So there's a guy, Trent, And Trent, as a high school kid, did an internship with us. We got a call, will you take this kid in? Said, we've never had a high school kid do an internship, but sure, we'll try. Anyways, he's going to be a senior at Washington University in the fall as an architect. So he decided he did not like traffic engineering. He wanted to be an architect. He's wildly successful at what he's doing. And I've been a mentor for him ever since. So we have a promise that CBB is going to throw him a big old party when he gets his first architecture job. But trying to help him in, somebody asked in the chat, the difference, do I find a coach, an advocate, or a mentor? And I think this has come through in the other speakers. I've been all three to Trent, right? So I've helped him find a couple internships with architectural firms, clients that we work with. I've advocated for him through that process. I've coached him on here's how you do a resume and a cover letter, submitting that, right? And let's work on these skills that you need to have and to try to mentor him. Even though I'm not a architect and I can't help him in that way, what I can do is just help him in how to do a professional career. So right now I'm coaching him through college. I'm like, you're about to enter your senior year. You're going to have for graduate school. So for graduate school, you're going to have to submit your applications. Do you know what the GRE is? And there's a whole bunch that goes along with that. So, but it's all started with some real authentic, and Adam used that word, authentic conversations early on, to really help me understand who he is and what he was trying to do and what his situation was. And at the same time, then try to help him see how I could help him through that process.
Thank you, Sean. And also thank you for mentioning about the question in the chat. This person is going to finish the master degree and start to thinking about moving from academia to industry. Should he or she first look for a mentor or a coach or someone who can advocate for me? Any thoughts toward this question, Julia, Adam, and Erica?
Yeah, I think it was actually a really great question. Thank you for that. And I think it's one that a lot of young people think about when they're first going into the profession. It can be very overwhelming. And I like some of the answers that came across. I think one of the things that I've done on that sort of the coaching front a number of times is working with students who are graduating, a lot of what you're talking about, Sean, working with students or people who've graduated, just come into the profession, they don't know what their first step is. I think that's where taking a coaching approach sometimes can work, because otherwise it can be very overwhelming, right? And if the question that you're trying to get through, and I don't know what your specific question was, Saba, but in terms of where you're at personally, but if your question was, say, I've just graduated, I don't even know where to apply, I don't know what kind of companies and jobs are out there for me at this time. I've spent a lot of times with students to sit down with them and say, okay, do you want to stay here? Like when I was living in Toronto, do you want to stay in the Toronto area? Yes? Okay, let me tell you what the opportunities are. Here are the public sector organizations. Here are the transit agencies. Here are the provincial agencies and NGOs that are doing work in the transportation space. Here's what consultants are. Here's what they do. Really starting to work with them to figure out what it is that they're looking for that initial step. And also trying to help them understand, just because you do one thing now and you make one decision now and take one job now, doesn't mean you're going to stay there forever, but get what you can out of it. Embrace the experience and see where the path leads you. But just getting over that first, where do I want to go and what do I want to do and how do I get there? I loved what you said, Sean, about helping them put together their resume, right? A good resume, a good cover letter, and an idea about what kind of work you're looking for will get you so far in those first few months and getting into that first job.
All right, we will move on and we can circle back if we have more questions in the chat box. Adam, right? How do you identify who you want to advocate in your professional network?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I kind of touched on this a little bit before. I mean, I think for me, I'm going to probably advocate for people that I have somewhat of a strong connection with, that I know pretty well, that have some sort of passion about. I think probably naturally 90% of the people I advocate for are like members of my, colleagues from my firm, or members of our transportation team, or family and friends. So I think that probably is that circle is probably the natural one.
Right.
But there's plenty of others outside of that circle that, as you develop your personal network over the years, and your professional network, you begin to make these connections. You begin to have friends that you want to see do well. And I think that's kind of what I look for is just those people that I see doing good work, that I know who they are kind of as a person, and are willing to kind of, um, help them however I can, whether it's advocating, in a specific professional setting, or advocating, a lot of what I probably do is I do a lot of social media type advocating. Like I love to
Mhm.
post.
Resharing and
Yeah, I love to
retweet.
post when people are doing good things that I know, and everything like that. So, I would say that's probably the big thing. If you're looking, if you're trying to identify, someone to advocate for you, I think the relationship up front is probably the first part of it that needs to happen.
Wonderful. And Eric, what impact do you having that support have your career trajectory? So what the impact of the mentor, impact of coach?
Thank you, Sky. I would say and Julia touched on this, the idea of building confidence. It really, having a mentor, I mentioned this when I was chatting before, giving you that safe space to ask questions, to talk things out, kind of, having an opportunity to unload all your stupid questions, for lack of a better word there. And to help build your confidence to recognize opportunities, to pursue opportunities. It's really, I think that's really helped give me a good sense of drive to pursue more in my career.
And Erica, as you shift your not shift, as you grow your career, right? You was a junior and then senior right now. So do you think that trajectory the trajectory was impacted by your mentor or coach? Like could you tell us a little bit on that?
Yeah, I think when I was a technical staff and a junior staff, um, starting off really kind of having no clue what I was doing and following my boss to all those meetings, and but gaining that experience and gaining that confidence that, if he believes in me, then I can believe in myself. And I feel like, having now been a mentee and a mentor, as a mentor, there's truly nothing better than seeing this person that you've been talking to pursue opportunities and be successful. And so that really, to provide an anecdote for that, when I had my kids, I took time off for both kids, kind of very close together. So I was in and out of my job over the course of about 3 or 4 years. And through that, I had built good confidence to advocate for myself through that, so that, I wasn't getting left behind at work, and I was making sure that I was still standing up for myself and making it known that I was still there. And so that served me well through that transition period, with kids and coming back to work.
Oh, wow, Erica. Let me may go back to the coach with Julia. So how do you keep someone keep motivated, and also accountable without kind of overwhelm them with so many different goals and tasks? Julia? All right, we can go back to Julia.
She just
Maybe we
posted
can.
in the chat there. Did you see that? She's having internet issues.
Okay, no problem, Julia. Let's see. maybe we will talk with similar to coach. Let's maybe talk on the mentor question for you, Sean, there. What advice, because there are so many, like every of you can be a mentor, right? So for a mentee, how could they find the right mentor?
All right, thanks. So, and we've hit on a lot of this coming through this. I think, the first thing is you've got to find somebody who knows the trail. So I brought that up at the beginning of kind of a trail guide. So somebody who understands the terrain that you're interested in. So I wouldn't, if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, I want to be a doctor. Will you be my mentor in that journey?" I'd be no, because I don't know anything about how to help you with that. So you've got to find somebody who's in your space that, and then somebody that has the time. So to Erica's point, somebody who's actually got the time to sit, and it doesn't have to be a lot of time. It's not, hours a day, but that can make the time to sit and actually talk with you. Somebody that is approachable to you, somebody that you feel comfortable with, which gets into, at the end of the day, one thing that's really important in this, and we haven't really hit on it yet, but it kind of goes inside, is somebody that you can confide in, somebody who you can talk to, and you're not worried, and you know that that's not going anywhere, right? So I have a lot of conversations. I mentor a number of people. I do a lot of that for our staff here at CBB, and that what gets talked about stays at the Gulf Shores restaurant, or stays at the shack, right? It never goes anywhere, and that opens the ability to have safe conversations and people to be real and authentic. That word's been used a couple times, and people to really kind of bear out their souls on, this is something I don't like or something I'm really concerned about. And then once that's on the table, then we can really talk about, okay, here's how to address that and to make that work. So at the end of the day, it's got to be somebody that, again, understands the trail, that they can actually help give you some advice or some wisdom or whatever it is along the way, and somebody who that you feel really comfortable with, that you can really be authentic in your ask and your requests on that. I've had some people that have come to me for advice, and I think Julia brought it up. Hey, do you want to stay in? That's people. I've helped lots of students along the way, being an adjunct for almost 25 years now, and where do you want to work? Do you want to work in St. Louis? And so I've had some. I just want to engineer. I don't care where it is. I'm like, okay, we're gonna have to dive a little deeper, so we can have a conversation. Is it design you want, or planning? Where do you want to be? So how can, at the end of the day, I'm trying to figure out how to help them, and so you've got to have somebody that you can really open up to, and then provide you that kind of advice.
Oh, thank you, Sean. Julia, are you back? So
I think
let
so.
me let me throw this question to you. Okay, how do you keep someone motivated and accountable without overwhelming them?
Oh, such a good question. When it comes to coaching, we focus a lot on the end goals. I think there are often steps that you take to figure out specifically what those goals are. So, if I'm using the job situation as an example, somebody is not going to come to me necessarily and say, "Hey, I want to work in the private sector. I want to do this kind of work. Can you help me?" What they might say is, "I got to figure out where I want to land. Can you help me?" And so it's about deconstructing the process, right? So taking the small steps with them to figure out what the goal is, and then developing a process around how do we get there, or working together. And I mean, we're all adults here, right? We're really working together, and I like the word. I was using guide, Sean was using trail guide, like that idea of guiding them along a path that they're perfectly capable of walking themselves, but helping walk alongside them, I think, is really valuable. But when they can't figure out the goal, sometimes can be really overwhelming. So breaking down the steps to the goal and then breaking down the process to get there, I think, is where those of us who have had experience doing this kind of work and walking these kinds of paths in the past can really help and provide that guidance.
Thank you, Julia. Adam, right? We have a question from the audience asking about how do you handle the responsibility and risk when you try to advocate for somebody who maybe is not in the room, right? Maybe it's not in your council, but maybe you think this person certainly fits for a certain task. How do you manage the risk and responsibility?
Yeah, so I mean, I think if we follow along the path that, you know, some of the things I've said before, where, you know, we're looking to be authentic, we're looking to have that connection with someone before, kind of almost before we advocate, right? So to me, if you know the person and you feel passionate, and I think actually Sean might have put it in the chat too, like I feel like the mentor and coaching sometimes comes before, and then you advocate naturally for those people. So to me, like I don't know that there is a huge responsibility or risk at least involved in advocating for somebody. I think you don't want to oversell, you don't want to say things that maybe you don't know are to be true. But you know, in general, I think if you keep it positive and you know, and again, shed light on accomplishments, or you know, just speak to, hey, I know that person and they're very good or whatever. It's funny, as I was going through this, I was thinking of like kind of stories, and I felt like I'm somebody who, I feel like when I get in a situation where we're networking and stuff, like I try to keep it as positive as possible. So like if I hear a name of someone I know, I'm always like the guy that's like, oh, I know Carrie Faulkner. She's awesome. Like I I feel like I'm advocating and promoting people without even really, you know, just naturally. And I think the point I want to make there is like I'm a really competitive person. I you know, and when I'm in situations that are, you know, other consultants around and there's maybe clients there, like I've walked away from some events where I'm like, did I talk too much about one of my competitors and how great they are? And you know, to me, I feel like when you analyze that situation, like positivity always wins. I feel like, you know, you speaking highly of somebody else makes you look confident and whatnot. So to me, I don't think there's a lot of risk. Like I said, as long as you're not overselling or you know, or you know, saying things that maybe you don't know. To me, if you keep you know, keep it to people that you have that connection with, that you know, and you're confident enough to kind of make that make those assertions or whatnot. I think that's the important part.
Sure. Thank you, Adam. To all to all the panelists, what frequency is recommended for connecting with your mentee or maybe even coach? Sometimes it could be years before coming to a big decision in your career. And how can we keep this connection with the mentors, or with the coach, right? How can we keep the relationship?
So I can jump in there.
Mhm.
Just quickly, I mean, I think a mentor-mentee relationship is similar to any other relationship where there's not a black and white guideline on how many times you should meet and things like that. I think, you know, building that relationship is key. If that takes a little bit more upfront, to do that, like I know we have a mentorship program here at Colliers, and you know, you're encouraged to meet every 4 to 6 weeks, especially in the beginning, to just get to know one another. Um, but I think a good mentor is just like a good friend. Like there, I'm sure we've all had people that we haven't seen in years, and you know, when you do finally see them again, it's like they never left. So, you know, I have mentors, you know, official, unofficial type mentors that, you know, I feel like I only see at IT annual meetings, and you know, maybe once a year is enough to just reconnect, see how you're doing and things like that. So you know, I don't think there's a you know, right and wrong here. I think whatever it really is needed to kind of build a relationship.
All right. Let's see. We have another questions raised from the audience. As a young professional in what can be in a small industry, how can you navigate finding a mentor without running into conflict of interest by speaking with other local professionals who might at the competitive companies or agencies who might be clients? Is there a better, is this better to look outside of your geographic area? Any comments, or Erica, any comments on
Yeah.
that?
So I have been lucky to know Julia for many years and have always, this is speaking as a mentee when someone who I've always seen as a mentor coach is also here is really lovely. And Julia and I live in the same community and do a lot of the same kind of work in the same community. And I feel like as you get to know someone, especially as you advance in your career, we're all very professional about it. And when there's, you just become very aware of those boundaries. And there's still, there's still so much to be gained. I feel like in our particular case, it might come up, 10 to 15% of the time where we might have to, you know, not discuss something, but there's still, it's really beneficial even to have them in the same community because you're talking about, the same agencies, the same, we both have the same licensing body. There's a lot to, there's just a lot to be gained there from the shared experience. And I think as you can navigate it as professionals, and hopefully Julia would agree with me on that.
Yeah, the only thing I'll
Oh, go
add
ahead. I
into
do agree,
that,
by the way.
the only piece I'll add into that, and it's harder for younger professionals to see, but a lot of times folks will end up moving around. So we've got a sub consultant on a job right now that used to be my client. So you'll see, there's a design build. There's folks that used to be clients that are now working for the contractor, right? So, I think you find those relationships that work and you've got confidence in. And then even as your career grows, you'll find that those are people that you'll want to bounce ideas off and you want to talk to and you want to understand because they'll have different perspectives that you do. But yeah, I wouldn't be afraid of reaching out to somebody, whoever it is, if you think that they have some experience that's valuable to you to understand.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Erica. Julia.
I have this concept that I use for myself personally when it comes to mentorship. I have this concept of like the council of mentors. Like I've never had just one person that I went to with everything. I have this big group of people that I can draw on, and when something happens that I want to talk, I sort of ask myself, like, who is it in this pool of people that I can go to that could give me some advice on this? And by the way, sometimes it's Erica, right? Like that mentorship relationship goes both ways. And I think we do ourselves and we do others, especially young people coming into this business, a disservice by suggesting that you're only going to have one mentor and you're going to be, that person is going to guide you all through your career. That has not been my experience. And that's where you get around this question of, conflicts of interest. It does come up. Erica and I sit beside each other sometimes. We also sit across the table from one another sometimes. And sometimes you need somebody with a different perspective, but the truth is sometimes you want somebody's perspective from outside your geography because you need some really fresh and different look on whatever it is you're grappling with. So, if you open yourself up to the thought that you're going to have many, many mentors in your career and you can have them all at the same time and they come and go from your life, back to that question about how often, I can think of this one woman that I have some of the best conversations with when we get together at conferences, but I don't see her more than once every 2 or 3 years. And it's still great. So I think if you start to think of it as this tool is all these people who come and go from your life and how they can add richness to your career path, be great.
Thank you, Julia. Yeah, I also can share a little bit of myself. Like it's out, when I was back in Texas, I want to work in DC area. So I have to look for someone out of my geographic area, and benefit from the Zoom, benefit from all the virtual chat. I was able to connect with people so that they kind of helped me to settle a offer in DC. So I think, sometimes don't hesitate to link locally and maybe have a face-to-face coffee chat, and sometimes benefit from all the tour, right? So again, we have the ITE communities. You can kind of look for someone outside of your geographic area. And maybe we can let's maybe go back to the kind of mentee role, right? Mentee role at Varick over there. I think we talk about mentor, coach, and advocate from your perspective as a as a mentee. What advice would you give to the audience when they try to seek those 3 different roles? Any advice or thoughts on that?
I think, you know, when it comes to one of the places that I think many of us have connected with others, you know, found mentees, mentors, that kind of thing, is at our ITE conferences. And if anyone's done the leadership ITE course, we talked a lot about the concept of who's here, and recognize, like, taking inventory and paying attention to who's in the room. So when you attend these conferences, just kind of put the hat on to look around and see who you find yourself really listening to, wanting to engage with, that kind of thing. And over the course of the conference, to introduce yourself, to connect with them, and see if something could be there. And then once you have connected with someone, like I said when I was first chatting, to think about your expectations, to be flexible, to try and set yourself up for success.
Thank you, Erica. Okay, we have a question from the audience. Do you find any differences or pro and cons from having an official and structured mentorship programs versus have an official mentorship relationship?
I can throw in a couple of thoughts. I guess what comes to mind when I see that is the structured programs can help you maybe find and maybe give you access to people who you can start having a conversation with. The real meaningful relationships longer term and some have maybe come out of those programs, but then they've kind of blossomed into this other relationship where there is that trust there. And to Adam's part, I love seeing new professionals thriving, right? You love seeing people get off the ground and having a cool journey. I've got a student that I worked with that I taught, they have to do a class project, right? So maybe this starts as kind of a formal thing, and her class project dealt with Lambert Airport here, and then she got really involved and just loved her class project and was meeting with some of the senior leadership at the airport. Well, that transformed her into a career as an airport planner. So at one point she's calling me saying, "Hey, I can take this job at Mid-America Airport. I got to move to Illinois, or I have this other job I can take." And it was, hey, where are your passions? What do you want to do with this? But anyway, so that maybe structured, and same thing with this Trent and Project Pave, a structured relationship. Trent and my relationship has gone way past Project Pave, right? And the woman who runs that or ran that program, she just, every time I talk to her, she's just thrilled. She's like, your responsibility was over years ago, but here you still are helping this young person out. So I think the structured programs can really help maybe and connect you to people that you might not have access to. But to the real meaningful relationships, I go beyond those and end up being totally, and that's where, somebody asked the question between a coach, a mentor, and an advocate. Well, these people that I've extended these relationship with, I'm kind of all 3, and it's a partnership. I was going to read, you provided a definition of mentorship at the beginning. I found one I really liked, and it starts with a partnership between 2 people that supports personal and professional development. And I love that definition because it starts with a partnership. So anyways, I think they both have value, and what I see a lot of times is these structured programs can blossom into an unofficial or unstructured program, which sticks with you then throughout your career.
Right. Thank you, Sean. Julia, so for your coach relationship, were there any, official, unofficial, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I would I totally agree with what Sean said about mentorship. I think on the coaching side, it doesn't have to be particularly official, except I think managing expectations up front is really important, because typically with a coaching role, it's more about, again, it's about a specific goal or specific problem you're trying to overcome. And so when in my case, when I've gone to someone for coaching, it's been, I have this problem I want to solve. Can you help me? I think you have the skill set to help me. Would you be willing to do that? Also, shout out to the fact that there are actually professional people that do coaching. Not to belittle any of the coaching that the rest of us are doing, because I think it's equally important. But I work with a business coach. Like, I have a person that I hire that helps me make decisions about my business and about growing my business and that sort of thing. So I think there is value in having structure around that sort of coaching relationship, just so that you can manage expectations. And if I can dabble just a bit in Adam's piece of the pie on advocates, I will say the times that I've run across people who have structured advocate roles has really left a sour taste in my mouth. And I would welcome a different perspective from others on the panel who have something to add. But I think that advocate role tends to happen really naturally once you build a relationship with somebody and you want to be the ones talking about them when they're not in a room in a positive way. But when they are doing that because they've been sort of retained or there's some sort of official connection there, it doesn't come off as authentic, which I think has come up a lot of times in this panel.
Great. And Adam, so when you try to any like successful story you would like to share when you advocate somebody, and how give a successful story on that?
Sure. So two come to mind. I mean, one's kind of personal. It's kind of a funny little thing that happened to me. Like, I early in my career, I don't know, I found my way to a lot of um project meetings with clients and things like that. And you know, there was a guy who was the chief engineer of NJDOT, and or the chief traffic engineer, let's say. And at every meeting, it started to get to it almost was kind of funny to me. Like, he would tell people like, oh, by the way, Adam's really great. And like, in hindsight, I wonder if he was serious. But I think he noticed that maybe I was a little bit younger in the room. And I think me and him kind of had developed like a pretty cool relationship, and he was a good guy. And I think, for me personally, like, that was so powerful for me. Like, there was no reason for him to do that. I think he probably just saw that, that I think he enjoyed working with me, and I think he saw maybe I was a little young. So I think that, like, a lot of times kind of like legitimized me in some of these meetings. So personally, that was a big thing. Small gesture that, like, I think just went a long way for me and probably helped me in my career and things like that. The other biggest success story, I guess I could say, is I work with I'm lucky. There's a lot of great, brilliant people that work here, but I've been lucky enough to work with someone I'm sure a lot of you may know or have heard of, Keith Hall. He's somebody that interned with us and really over the years we've grown together, and he's awesome. And I just feel like again, at a young age, he was way ahead of the curve. And if you're going by results, like, he's outperforming a lot of his peers that are different titles than him and things like that. So I think even from an IT perspective, I've always found myself just trying to put him in positions to kind of like let the world know and to shine. And he's somebody that's chaired councils and past a leadership IT chair at this point and things like that. But he's someone that I think naturally, again, I have a relationship with him. I've known him for a long time, and was just someone that I continued to kind of like, tried to, if there was a position where I could maybe help him or advocate for him to get into a certain lane, I feel like I was always trying to kind of push him into that and shed the spotlight on him and things like that. So those are two real examples.
Wonderful. Thank you, Adam. Julia, you've been coach different person, and I believe you adjust your style to coach different person. Any story to share, right? So how you adjust your coaching style based on your coachee.
Hmm. Well, I think there's a couple of different ways that we adjust. I think as you're coaching somebody who's just coming out of university, just starting their career, might be a slightly different style than somebody who's more 10, 15, 20 years into their career. Probably the goal is more specific depending on if they have more experience, just because they've learned a lot along the way and they're going after something very tangible. Not always true, but I think that is probably generally true. And so you would coach them a little bit differently on that basis. But I think the larger thing is more around personality. And I think like any relationship, that style influences the way that you interact. And, shout out to Leadership IT because Erica did it too, so I'm going to do it. We talk about the way that people communicate and how that communication style translates into a work style and what that means when you're working with different. So we learn a lot about ourselves as communicators and our work styles, and then we talk about the people that we interact with. I think the same is true when you're coaching somebody. It's that communication style. And, as an example, if you're coaching a person who is hyper-focused, tends to be hyper-focused, the steps that you're going to work through are going to be 1 or 2 steps at a time versus somebody who's a high-level multitasker. You can work 10 steps at a time. You can help them say, okay, here are the 10 steps we're going to go through. Here are the 3 things we're working towards. And that helps them organize themselves and see the end result. Whereas with somebody who's a little bit more hyper-focused, you can say, we're going to focus on these 2 first steps, and this is where we're going. Right? It's a completely different style of coaching, but it responds to their needs and their style of sort of processing and communication.
Right. Thank you, Julia. I think we're about the time where we go around of the roles, and maybe have your closing remark. Also tell us about how you actually benefit being a mentor, being a coach, being an advocate, right? So maybe we can go backward, starting from America.
Sure. So I would say my biggest takeaways are, and Julia said this too, is that it's not going to be one person for everything that you need to work through. It's also not going to be the same person throughout your career potentially. And so to exercise those muscles of connecting with people in this way will serve you long term. And to be a successful mentee, to engage, to be flexible, and to try not to be afraid to connect with other people.
Edit.
Oh, I'm up. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I've been just kind of taking everything in, and a couple things I wanted to make sure got out there before we ended. I know it's not always easy to find the right mentor or coach, or maybe even go one step further, like have the nerve to ask for the mentorship. But I'll leave you with 2 things. First and foremost, it's flattering. So, you're basically telling someone that you highly respect them and they're good at what they do. So, think about that as you're, getting up the nerve for it. Like, the person's going to be pretty, even if it's a no, I'm sure they're going to be very humbled by it. The other thing I'll say too is, for me personally, and not to steal too much on the mentorship side, but every mentorship opportunity that I ever had, formal or informal, I really feel as the mentor, I walked away the one who gained the most value. You don't ever really think of it that way, but I've learned so much over the years from people that I've mentored. Like, I almost feel indebted to them that, like, like that the titles aren't flipped. So, anyone who's done it before realizes that a little bit, that it can be a very powerful situation for the person that's supposed to be mentoring. So you learn a lot, you hear a lot of different perspective. It kind of keeps you up to speed on things that are going on maybe in different generations or different ways to do things. So I would I would like to leave everybody with that kind of advice, is like those two things really are important. And as you kind of figure out who that person is and get up the nerve to talk to them about it, keep that in mind.
Thank you, Adam. Julia.
So Eric and Adam, thanks for saying all the things I was about to say. Really appreciate that. I would perhaps add to it this. Mentoring, coaching, advocating happens in all areas of your life. Now we're talking about professional here today, but your profession goes beyond your workplace. And one of the places, so I would broadly say, first of all, the best part about being a coach, being a mentor, being an advocate is watching these people succeed. Absolutely. And being able to have coached people, not only in my workplace, we talked a little bit about that, but also having been able to do it through programs with local, we had a business incubator for women locally where I helped coach a number of different teams through their program. I've done it through the university. I've done it through ITE. I've done it in a lot of different areas. And I think what I would leave you with is no matter where you're at, what stage of your career you're at, you have an opportunity not only to have a mentor, coach, advocate, but also to be a mentor, coach, advocate. And it's wonderfully rewarding. I highly recommend it. If you're a brand new grad, like reach back to your university and see what you can do. If you're still in university, reach back to your high school. You guys, we need to get into the high schools. And encourage people to go into transportation, right? Because it's such a great field and they don't know anything about it. There's just always an opportunity, and don't be scared to do it because it's so much fun. You're never going to regret it. And you're going to get better and better at it as you have more and more experience.
Thank you, Julia. The awarding piece, the fulfillment piece, I think is very important. Sean?
Okay, thanks. And so first, thanks for inviting me to be part of this panel. It's been a really great experience. I do a lot of talking on things. I got to admit, this one was a little intimidating for me. I can talk all day about, design build projects, but, I had to ask myself, like, I guess I mentor, what do I do? And had to have some conversations. And kind of like Adam said, you think about it, and you're like, you know what, I actually do a lot of this stuff. And my panelists are so eloquent. So y'all did great intros. Mine was pretty short, but I really appreciate being on here with you. At the end of the day, to build on what Adam said, if you are a young person that's looking for a mentor or an advocate, that kind of relationship, I can't tell you how many times I sat in ITE council meetings or TRB committee meetings with a bunch of old people sitting around talking about how do we get more young people involved in this. And I'm like, you all are very intimidating for younger people, working with students all the time. What you need to do is go out there and just grab somebody by the arm and drag them in here and make them sit down and be part of the conversation, right? So if you're a young person, recognize, to Adam's point, that people who are experienced in the field love to help out younger professionals and mid-level professionals, and really love to help them find their way along this journey. If we've been doing it for 20 or 30 years, we obviously like what we're doing, and we'd like to share that joy with others and some of those success stories. But what I find is that starts the best conversations with somebody who comes with a question, or at least know what they want to get out of the relationship. So it could be, I'm looking for a career, what's my first step? Or it could be, what do you think should I get a master's degree or not? But just to start, if somebody comes to me and says, I need a mentor, okay, great. What do you need a mentor for? Like, what is it that you need that I can help you out with? And if you have some kind of an inkling and can say that, then I know what I'm working on. I know what I'm trying to do. So if you are connecting with a mentor, just start someplace, and it could be the little bitty steps that Julia keeps talking about, but just have something in mind that you want to have this person help you work through, figure out, whether it's, do I want to do transportation? Do I want to stay in, my market area? Just whatever that is, to have that conversation If it's when I've been approached in the past by people, it's completely open-ended. I just have not known what to do and how I can help this person. And those ones sometimes kind of tend to fizzle out a little bit. So come with an ask. Don't be afraid to ask. People love to help you. And if it's something where I feel like I can help you work through this, then I'll do it all day long, right? Then that'll be a great place to start.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you for all the panelists. Go back to the reason we want to host this boot camp is because we want either the students or the young professional or even the senior in your career not only look at your professor, not only search help for your manager or your chief, but look around to see what else is over there, right? We have a great IT community that can be served as a platform to communicate, to help you communicate with the mentor, coach, or advocate, because you can find them in Council, you can find them in Women in ITE, you can find them in the local conference as well. So thank you all for joining us today, and I think we can keep in touch or maybe see each other in the Orlando or later this summer in Florida. So back to the ITE staff, and we're gonna share the slides for the PDH credit. Just try to share. All right, thank you all, and thank you for the panelists. Back
Hi,
to you,
this is
Stephen.
Stephen. This is Stephen again with ITE. I just want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. If you'd like your 1.5 PDH credit certificate, the link with full instructions and the link to purchase is currently on the screen with the QR code. I'm also posting it in the chat window for you. There's a processing fee of $20, whether you're a member or a non-member. In registrants, you'll have access to the webinar recording for 30 days once it's posted. It's posted within 48 hours. And you'll receive an email when the webinar is posted within a week. If you have any questions beyond this, please don't hesitate to contact us. And thank you. You may now disconnect.